Hey, welcome into Sports Map Houston. I'm Brandon Strange. I'm joined as always by Paul Gallant. You can catch him on the Paul Gallant Show weekdays from 10 to noon on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5 FM. If you haven't yet, hit subscribe to this channel. Go subscribe to Paul. We do appreciate the support. Paul, it only took 5 weeks, but we get to talk about a Texans win here in this new format. And I mean, the man of the hour seems to be Damien Pierce. Got a lot of attention, especially if you drafted him onto your fantasy football team earlier in the year. And now this guy looks like a favorite to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Paul, has a star been born on this Texans squad? And what could a real running game mean for the development of Davis Mills?
Yeah, this is the first guy the Texans have had in a while that's, I think, worthy of purchasing a jersey for. He had 8 broken tackles on one run that set up the ultimate game-winning touchdown run that he had. And while he didn't have plus 100 yards on the game, he, I guess, forced 17 missed tackles in the victory over the Jaguars, which per Pro Football Focus is the largest number of forced missed tackles, which I've never heard of before,
right,
that they have ever recorded in history. As far as what it means for Davis Mills, Mills has some limitations to his game, and I think the most frustrating part with him is that when he's under pressure, he starts to get happy feet. It'll definitely help where he doesn't have all the pressure on him at the end of the game to have a guy like Damien Pierce to turn around and hand the football off to. But I almost look at Damien Pierce and wonder what a better quarterback could do for him. This is clearly the one guy on the Texans that a team has to game plan for, and even if the blocking's not great, the way that he just fights to the finish on every single play that he gets the ball has been awesome to see. It's about time that there's somebody on this team that you look at and say, he is special across the NFL as far as running backs go.
You mentioned what a good quarterback could do for Damien Pierce. Last year we were talking about what a good running back could do for Davis Mills. We were like, man, if he just had any sort of thread of a run game, Davis Mills could be so much better. He gets that. I mean, he gets what the fans here in Houston have been asking for, which is a real bona fide running back. He gets that now. And then Davis Mills seems to regress. I guess on the flip side of that, you talk about Damien Pierce and how violently he runs. Yeah. Are you afraid of him getting that many touches week after week with the way that he runs?
Yeah, you do want the guy to end up staying healthy. And while we've seen a great year for the now 4-1 New York Giants with Saquon Barkley, like he had his rookie season, there were a lot of injuries in between that first year and this year. It happens with running backs. It is a very, very violent sport, and it's a violent position. There might be a time where he has to realize, okay, maybe it's not worth fighting for every single extra yard I can get on every single play. But you love to see this kind of effort out of a rookie, especially as you're trying, with Lovie Smith now in charge, to build a new culture. And it's going to take time. You do need, though, to have some players that are like that. You got to have somebody out there who is not going to quit. And you hope that that's something that kind of passes along to some of the other players on the team. But yeah, it does, just because of the bad juju that's been around this organization for the last couple of years, it does make you a little bit paranoid that all of this work that he is getting, what happens if he gets banged up? This team does not have a lot of alternatives if he were to go down.
Oh, we saw, to that point, we saw Bill O'Brien run Arian Foster right into the ground and read all the tread off the tires in what was otherwise a meaningless season. I want to move on to kind of the rest of the roster, though, because, man, just some bright spots here on this team that we can kind of finally talk about. Nico Collins, grown man reception yesterday. On the other side of the ball, Derek Stingley, big interception. And there's other guys sprinkled here. You can talk through whether it's, you know, some short-term signings or whether it's guys like Jalen Petrie's, you know, part of this young core. What do you think about this young core that Nick Caserio's put together? And also, should this give us a little bit more confidence in what Nick Caserio can build on this roster?
Yeah, I think so. I think it should. I know that there's always going to be frustration because of how long it's going to take for this team to potentially get back to where it was just a couple of years ago. I mean, you know, 2011, 2012, you're thinking to yourself, this is going places. Matt Schaub gets hurt, and then you have that really bad season, 2013. O'Brien comes in not too long afterwards. And, yeah, then all of a sudden the Deshaun Watson stuff happens. I think that asking people to be patient is tough. I do think, though, that Nick Caserio has done a pretty damn good job as far as drafting players to this point. You have seen contributions from rookies in last year's draft class and in this year's draft class already. And, that's before we even get to see, hopefully, John Michie. And on top of that, Christian Harris, the linebacker who they drafted. I mean, we've gotten good returns thus far. I think the question is, all right, is this just a one draft class kind of thing? Are they going to be able to build off of it? And the other thing is, okay, well, how are you going to manage contracts going forward? Unfortunately, the Texans are still dealing with like $65 million in dead cap money because of how bad Bill O'Brien was as a general manager. That is something that unfortunately does hold you back because there are certain spots on this team where they are sorely lacking. They don't have a lot of linebacker depth, and it does seem like those linebackers are very often making plays 5-7 yards downfield or so. They don't have a lot of defensive line depth either. You hope that Nick Caserio is eventually going to be able to find guys that they can plug in on that spot in the defense because the front seven's not great. But I think that yesterday is one of those games, as you mentioned, with Nico Collins and with Derek Stingley getting his first career interception, with what we've seen out of Jalen Petrie to this point this year, and of course Damien Pierce. There are some nice young players, and you just got to keep on adding to that mix and hope that there's a quarterback eventually that is better than Davis Mills.